They handed me the contract with one hand, and the termination letter with the other. The applause around me felt like a distant echo, the stage lights blinding. There I stood, holding the award they had just handed me, my heart beating in my throat. The irony hit me like a wave. Just moments earlier, I had closed the biggest deal of my career, one that would save the company from the brink of collapse, and here I was, being unceremoniously cast aside. They handed me a crystal trophy and a cold farewell note, all wrapped in the same breath. The betrayal was clear, though it was dressed up in smiles, applause, and congratulations. This moment didn't just happen, it was orchestrated with precision, a well-executed plan that had been in motion for weeks. If I had paid attention, I might have seen the signs. But betrayal, like any shadow, never announces itself. It creeps in slowly, quietly. And if I had known what was coming, I might have been ready. But instead, I stood there, frozen in time, smiling like I didn't know what was happening behind my back. 3 weeks earlier, I was in the hallway outside the executive boardroom, early for a meeting I was leading. I didn't mean to overhear. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but the door wasn't closed all the way. As I stood there waiting, I recognized the voices. Malcolm Reed, our silver-tongued coup, and Vivian Cross, our new head of people operations. Vivian used to be my friend, or at least, I thought she was. Years ago, I had helped her transition from a mid-level recruiter to one of the company's most trusted leaders. I'd helped her navigate the corporate world, taught her how to read a boardroom, how to lead with confidence, and how to make decisions that were both logical and intuitive. But now, her voice had changed. It was different, low, calculated. Her tone was sharp, colder. She thinks because she landed the Sant deal, she can rewrite the way this company works. Malcolm's voice sliced through the air. She doesn't understand what it takes to be a true leader. Leadership isn't just about closing deals. It's about making people feel safe, making them trust you. Vivian's response was even more cutting. She makes people nervous. She doesn't belong in the room with us. We can't build a brand around someone like her. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. I just stood there, listening to them discuss me like I wasn't even in the room. Like I was already a casualty of their corporate game. And at that moment, something inside me shifted. I had spent 11 years building this company, watching it grow, watching it almost crumble, and then fighting to bring it back to life. I had poured my soul into this company, and in return, they were now planning my exit. But instead of breaking down, I froze. In that moment, I realized that the company I had given everything to didn't value me the way I thought it did. They didn't care about the sacrifices I had made, the nights I had spent working alone, rewriting code, fixing systems, and building relationships that kept the company alive. None of that mattered anymore. Hope is a dangerous thing in the corporate world. It's not loud. It doesn't scream for attention. It whispers, quietly, under the surface, hiding in between the lines of emails and meetings. I should have walked away then, packed my things, and left. But I didn't, because the very next day, I received the call that would change everything. "We're in," Morgan Levant, the Chief Innovation Officer at Sant, said over the phone. "We've reviewed your proposal, and we're ready to move forward, $800 million over 5 years. The only condition is you lead the project. You're the one we want." It wasn't just a deal. It was validation. The deal with Sant would bring in billions, but more importantly, it would be the key to saving the company and re-establishing our market dominance. But not for them. For me. The deal was tied to my leadership, my vision. The very thing they had just decided wasn't worth having. And now, I had leverage. Not over them, but over my own future. When I presented the news to the board, I expected at least a handshake, a congratulations, some form of recognition for my hard work. Instead, Malcolm simply blinked and muttered, "That's unexpected." Vivian added, "It's not typical for clients to dictate internal project management." I was unbothered. "No," I replied. "This isn't a typical deal. This saves us. This secures our future in the market. I will lead this project, and we will succeed." They didn't celebrate. They didn't acknowledge the magnitude of the deal. They just stared at me like I was some sort of problem they had to deal with, but I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their validation. I was building something far greater than anything they could ever understand. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of meetings, late-night brainstorming sessions, and detailed planning. I met with Sant's integration team, aligned our tech stacks, and mapped out the project timeline. Every detail was scrutinized, every aspect of the deal carefully thought through. We were ready to go. But as the deal progressed, I began to notice something disturbing. Malcolm and Vivian's behavior toward me shifted again. I was excluded from important emails, ignored in meetings, and treated as though I was no longer necessary. The writing was on the wall. They were planning my exit, and I wasn't going to let it happen without a fight. But this time, I wasn't going to fight for them. I was going to fight for myself. I wasn't going to walk away. I was going to build something that they couldn't take from me, something that would leave them behind. I started working on Project Aegis in secret. I pulled out an old laptop from my freelance days, the one I had kept locked away for years. It wasn't company issued, and it wasn't traceable. I powered it up and began creating. I didn't need their systems. I didn't need their approval. I was going to build my own platform, one that was smarter, faster, and more secure. I used only my own codebase, open source libraries, and proprietary designs that had never seen the light of day. I worked in silence, making sure to keep my movements discreet. I didn't need them to know what I was doing. They thought I was still playing along, still doing the job they expected of me, but I wasn't. I was already building my escape, and when the time came, they would regret underestimating me. While I was building Aegis, Elixis continued to work on the SAMP project. But every time I checked in on the progress, I could feel the tension in the room. Malcolm and Vivian were already trying to find ways to bypass me, to take credit for the deal without involving me. I knew they were going to try to steal it. I just didn't know when. But I was ready. I had already designed Aegis to be a self-protecting entity. Every move they made would be tracked. Every unauthorized access would be logged. And when they tried to take my work, they would be exposed. It was only a matter of time before they made their move. And when they did, I would be waiting. Aegis was my shield, my safety net, and my weapon, but it was also my escape plan. It wasn't just about the deal. It was about something far more important. Control. The power to control my own destiny. And when Elixis tried to bypass me, when they tried to steal my work, Aegis would make sure they couldn't get away with it. I waited patiently, biding my time. Every meeting, every email, every phone call, each one was another step closer to the moment when I would make my move. And then it happened. I was sitting in the conference room when I saw the email. It was from the legal department. It was an NDA, the final one, the one that would finalize the termination process. I opened it, and there it was, my termination packet. Effective immediately. The words burned like acid in my stomach, but I didn't flinch. I knew it was coming. I had been waiting for it. They thought they could erase me. They thought they could take everything I had built and throw me away, like yesterday's news. But what they didn't know was that I had already taken my work, my system, and my future. It was already mine. I closed the laptop, stood up from my desk, and walked out of the office for the last time. I wasn't walking away in defeat. I was walking away to build something bigger. Something that would change the game. By the time they realized what had happened, by the time they tried to take credit for my work, it would be too late. I built my own company. I launched Project Aegis under a new name. One that was mine, not theirs. It was the beginning of something bigger than Elixis, something that would leave them in the dust. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their recognition. I needed my own. And now, I had it.